What is up, people? Welcome to our live stream. Today, we are going to be drawing rhinos, elephants, and warthogs. And if you would like to turn your artistic weakness into your strength, check out artprof.org, where we have lots of free resources, tutorials, critiques, art dares, pro development, and all of that cool stuff. All right, let's get started with the drawing.
I'm so happy we're doing this, Jordan, because I spent so much time at the zoo, and it's just really satisfying to use these photos.
I could imagine. Yeah, I haven't been to the zoo in a couple of years. And it was hard because like all the animals were just tough to see, or they had their butts facing us, and so yeah, those weren't particularly exciting all the time.
Oh my gosh, the rhinoceros. It was so hard to get him in a place where I could shoot his whole body
Hmm.
because that's something I really try to do is to not crop the images
Hmm.
so that way you can see the whole thing. If you want to draw a part of it, that's fine. And I waited all freaking day for them to stand in the right spot.
Oh no, I feel bad for them a lot of times. Just
Well, the problem with the rhinos is that they're really slow. You know how there's some animals, they'll change position pretty fast, and it's like a monkey will move around. The
mhm.
rhinos were like not moving. It was hard.
Oh yeah, I can see that being a problem. I can
Yeah, it
totally.
was a pain in the butt. Well, I'm so happy that Sleipnir is starting us out by saying, I want to draw only part of the elephant. I guess I'll truncate it.
How do you come up with these so quickly? I don't understand. Like, did you see the stream tile beforehand and come up with a list? Like, I don't get it.
I think Sleipnir is gifted when it comes to puns.
Just a lyricist at heart, I guess.
It's funny to me, Jordan, you were telling me before that you find animals harder to draw. I think they're much easier than humans because people don't bother you about, oh, it doesn't look like this, and the nose is 2 inches too high.
I think, well, I think it probably has to do with I've taken figure drawing classes way more than I've done like any sort of animal gesture drawing. Um, and I also think because I don't know, I think with human anatomy, it's all the same pretty much. I mean, you have differences between men and women physically, obviously, but there's like elephant versus a monkey versus a tiger are very different, you know. So
That's
like
true.
trying to learn all that stuff, if you don't know it on the fly, that's where I think the challenge comes in usually.
But I feel like if I make a wonky looking elephant, people are not remotely as judgmental.
Yeah, I would hope that's the case because my elephant looks kind of wonky right now. So
Well, you have only been working on it for what, 3 minutes?
yes, maybe two and a half.
There's your excuse. Yesterday, I went to this historic farm in Utah that I've been dying to go to. I saw the cutest billy goat. It was like a little doll, like running around with like the scrappy hair. It just made me laugh so hard.
Oh wow, animals are great. Those are some of the best videos on the internet. It's just animals doing stuff.
I never thought I would be one of those people that watches animal videos, and I totally am now.
Oh yeah,
It's so stupid and addictive.
I got caught up this comment by Wandering Butts, which says, "Don't worry, we are judging your elephant, Jordan." I don't know if that makes me feel more comfortable. I got to be honest. Like, don't worry, we're judging you. I don't know. Maybe there's a typo there, but I'm a little more concerned.
Well, I'll tell you, when you've drawn live as much as our staff has, you sort of have to just throw that out the window. Like, I just don't even think about it anymore. Maybe that's the advantage of drawing live so much. It just stuff doesn't bother you if you're somebody who has never drawn live.
Oh, totally. Totally. I know I've told this story on live before and on my YouTube channel, but there's one student I remember who was doing figure drawing for the very first time, and he did not draw a thing in 3 hours. Didn't even try because he was like, "Oh, they're moving so fast." I'm like, "These are like 5-minute poses, yo. Like, come on, like get a line down." And he was just so intimidated by his own lack of skill that it just kind of made it difficult for him.
Well, that's why actually, you remember this when I taught freshman drawing, I started people off drawing with crayon, which you can't erase, and it makes the students insane because
Yeah.
they are so used to being reliant on the eraser to take care of things, and when you take that away, it profoundly changes the way you draw.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. I do my best to not erase just in general. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect at it just yet, but I use like Prismacolor sometimes I don't erase, or if anything, it's just because I straight up messed up with the overlap. Like I was doing something on TikTok the other day and the belt was overlapping the leg and I was like, no, 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 I need the leg overlapping the belt, just like something really small like that. So yeah.
We have a question from BlueWolf. How did you sketch the first part so light? It seemed like you somehow got less water, it was less juicy. Did you tap it first on test paper? Good question. I actually do always have a test sheet of paper because when you look at your brush, you've no idea what color is in here. So if I'm not sure, I just take the color and I just do this. And then I know before I put it onto the drawing about how dark it is. But then the other thing I did in advance, and I can send a link to people later, which is I pre-mix all my gradients in order. So this is straight black, this is like medium gray, and then this color is barely even there. And you can see from here, I fixed them. So when I first did it, these two values, they were too similar. So I went in and I made it a little darker. I did it again, but then these two were too similar. So I adjusted. And then finally, this is the final one that has just about the right difference in gradients. I do have a video where I demo that, and I can show that to you later in the Discord. But yeah, ink wash, I can't believe people don't pre-mix because it's really hard to just randomly dunk your brush into whatever and not really know what the value is going to be like.
Yeah, it sounds dangerous.
It is. It's
When I,
not fun.
yeah, I would always premix when I was doing watercolor. Just you just can't get around that, in my opinion, unless you want your work to suffer. In which case, go right ahead. But I didn't want that.
I don't need any more suffering in my life than what is absolutely necessary.
I feel it. I feel that.
Ooh, Wandering Kathy. My first time catching a live stream. Thank you for all the information you put out on Art Prof. Well, thank you so much, Cassie, for joining us because we have people who have been following us for, I can't believe it, years. But it's so fun when a new person joins and says hello because I know a lot of people are very afraid to do that. It's intimidating to
Mhm.
join a new community. I don't know why that is, but it is. I don't know. Maybe it's just fear of rejection or worry people are going to be mean.
I think it's sort of like how, like, let's say you're invited to like a friend's birthday party or something, and you only know 2 people there, and 90 there's like 20 other people you just have never seen before. I think it's probably the same kind of fear that like you said, that people are going to be mean, that you're not wanted, or you're taking up space, or something like that. And usually, it's very common, but also somewhat irrational in some sense. So you're always welcome. Anyone here is always welcome.
Plus, we're not that mean, right?
I don't think so. I think we're rather kind.
But I do think it is intimidating when it's, oh, I've watched this person online and I know their stuff, but to actually talk to them
Mhm.
directly, I can see that being intimidating.
Yeah.
Actually, Jordan, you know it's the worst. So yeah, a party stinks when you're stuck there. But have you ever been trapped at a wedding with like one person you know, and the wedding is lasting like 3 hours? That is bad.
Actually, yes, I have been to a couple of those, and they're not particularly fun. That's when you hope the DJ's at least good at his job.
Yeah.
That's that moment right there. Last time I was at a wedding, he was good at his job. He was playing all the hits, but still, it's can be uncomfortable.
But see, you have the advantage of being a good dancer. I am not a good dancer.
Well, to be fair, I usually don't dance. I think what it was, I had all this pent up COVID rage, and I was like, I need to get it out, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it because I usually hate those types of settings, but I was like, you know what? No one here knows me. I'm in a different state. I'm just gonna go for it, and it turned out okay. It turned
That's
out all
awesome. All right. So I bet you anything, everybody here has some wedding story about some wedding you went to that was notable. So my notable wedding was had these actually it was my husband's friends, and they had this wedding. It was in the Utah mountains, which is fine, but these Utah mountains were so far. First of all, I think it was like 7 hours from Salt Lake City. It was a bus ride. And then once we got there, there was nothing for at least an hour, like not a single store, restaurant, nothing. Okay. And we get there, and it's one of those like resort weddings, you know, when they bring you out there for 4 days and it just never ends. And we're there, and the couple, they're vegan, and that's fine. I don't mind that. Okay. That's fine. But
Better not mind it.
they didn't tell anybody that there were no other food options and that they were only going to provide vegan food for all 4 days. I was like, I don't think that's very nice.
Oh man,
Even
you're
if,
gonna hate my wedding when you're invited.
well, but okay, just don't have your wedding where there are no food options anywhere for 4 days.
To be fair, it'll probably only last a couple of hours, but
That's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Like, if it just lasts a couple of hours and I can go back to my life, fine. But this is 4 straight days of vegan food trapped in the mountains. That was not fun.
Well, I assume it's because it wasn't good that you're upset about it. Was it good? What kind of food was it?
It was not good. They had these peanut butter cookies that tasted like rocks.
Yeah, you just had some bad cooks. I mean, I'm a little biased because I'm vegan, obviously, but there's some food that is so good that even my aunt, who's been eating meat for like 60 plus years, 70 plus years, it was like, dang, this is good. So,
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah.
It's just these people did not provide that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
I want to give a shout out to Ariel, who says, thank you so much for being awesome. Well, we are so happy to get your support, Ariel.
I like the bear. The bear's cool.
So Christy's asking, can you talk a little bit about that bamboo pen? Yeah, this is the bamboo pen, and there are other ones you can get. This one only has it on one end, but I do have this one, which is double-ended, like this. And really what's fun about these pens is that, here, I'll do it with black so you can see better. The line is not consistent. So you can see from these strokes, sometimes it's darker, sometimes it's lighter, but I like the unpredictability of it. It gives your drawing, I guess, a broader range of marks, assuming that's what you want. I mean, not everybody wants that quality in their work, but I like using it with the ink wash because the ink wash is good. And I guess in theory, I could get some details with it, but it's nice to do it over the ink wash. So I did this ink wash base, and now I'm putting some of the bamboo pen on top. It's super fun. If you haven't used one before, I highly recommend it. So, Jordan, what is your wedding story? You must have one.
Wedding story? Um,
Yeah, some dumb thing that happened at a wedding.
um, hmm. Don't think.
Really? You must not have been to a lot of weddings.
I haven't been to a lot. Here's the thing, like, whenever I'm at a wedding, usually so my friends getting married, that's only happened the last couple of years, and they're always about my age.
Right.
And I can't, like, or I'm sorry, I usually miss them because of whatever situation. Then there's, like, family and stuff. There have been some, like, interesting things, like, I just remember one cousin, he was getting married, and it was really bizarre to me because he was just, like, sweating profusely, like, at the altar, but he had already had, like,
Oh,
a three-year-old with the woman he was marrying, and so I just thought it was really funny, like, just kinda watching him like, "You guys live together, you have a house together, you have a child together, and all this stuff, and you're, like, sweating a ton." Like, it was just a very funny thing to me. Um, one time I embarrassed myself. I
yeah.
showed how young I was because I went to a wedding, and they were playing and they're playing Selena, and this person next to me, she's like, "Oh, I love Selena," and I was like, "Oh, like Selena Gomez," and I had no idea. She's like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "26," and I think at that point just registered to her, like, because I think I was born the same year Selena died, and so it
Oh,
just went over my head completely, like, because I don't know her music, but I know who she is, and, so yeah, that happened before, that was funny, yeah, I don't have too many of those, not too many, hopefully next time I will.
I think in about 3 years, you're going to start going to 4 weddings a year.
Oh, man, that's gonna be interesting. I went to a lot of bar mitzvahs growing up, though, I did have a lot of those.
Oh, I went to so many because the community I grew up in was had a huge Jewish community, and those were lavish
Yeah.
events.
Did I ever tell the story about how I met Magic Johnson at a bar mitzvah?
Well, you got to tell it now because some people probably haven't heard it.
So I went to school with a lot of very prominent young people, and their parents were like actors, actresses, people who signed on, you know, big name acts that we all know. And my classmate, his dad is the person who signed on Magic Johnson. And so I'm at the bar mitzvah. I'm 12 years old, and I'm in a line for the In and Out truck that they have. And I look up and I see this really tall black guy. And there's only like four black people in the environment. And so I'm just like, I know you, but who are you? Like, I know I recognize your face.
Oh
And he
gosh.
waved to me and everything. I was like, who is that? And my dad came up to me. He's like, George, did you see Magic Johnson's here? And I was like, oh snap, that was Magic Johnson. And so, and then went off and I played and did all the stuff that I did as a 12-year-old. My dad talked to him the whole time. I got a picture with him.
Ah,
I got his signature. I don't know where the autograph is though anymore. It's been years since I've seen it, but it was really cool. It was a really cool experience.
that is so awesome. I love that. Well, my mother in law, the bread fairy, she once had Bobby McFerrin at her house for dinner.
What?
I know.
That's cool. It's so random, but that's really cool.
Well, because he was a visiting artist at the university, and um, they were hosting this dinner, and Bobby McFerrin was there.
Wow.
I want to give a shout out to Sentient Charcoal, who says, so grateful for the Art Prof community. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for your support. We need your support because all that equipment, it keeps breaking, or we keep needing to upgrade, and oh my God, it never ends.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my mom the other day, and because I'm dealing with a car issue right now, and I was like, mom, I finally understand what it meant when you said it's always something, like I did and something broke or there was something wrong. I was like, and I was just letting her know. She's like, this is not the right time. Like, I'm starting to get it now. So you just reminded me of that when you mentioned that.
Your mom is so right about that. It gets even worse when you have a house because the saying is the house owns you.
Mm, I've never heard that one, but that's sad right there. That's scary.
Okay, so Lollipop Strawberry says, can you go over the equipment that you were using? Well, I have Sumi brushes, and I like these better than watercolor brushes because they're fuller and more flexible. I have the bamboo pens. The ink I'm using is just boring Higgins ink. Sorry, Higgins. It's good. It gets the job done. It's great. And then this is a watercolor block, which is sealed on all four sides. So that way, when I paint on it, it will buckle. But then when it dries, I can take it off the block and it will still be nice and flat. So watercolor block, I think, is really worth the money. I know they're more expensive, but they're so handy for that reason. And then, of course, I have the ink jars that I showed everybody earlier. And it's pretty low maintenance. It's nice.
Yeah.
Margaret says, the size, of shapes, and proportions in various species, perhaps the toughest thing drawing animals that ring true is where the joints are, which direction, flexion they fold. Gates, Newbridge helps. Well, Jordan, you have a smart way of dealing with that. Can you tell everybody what you look up when you're drawing animals?
Yeah, so admittedly, I didn't have time to do it today, but usually what I will do is I will go online and I will find a reference of the bones and the muscles of that particular animal, and then I'll draw from the reference. So I'll just compare it, and I'll look and I'll be like, what is this lump right here? I'll be like, oh, that's their such and such muscle. Or that's this bone, and it just helps me kind of memorize things. And I did the same thing when I was learning human anatomy, where I would take drawings of the muscles and the bones, and I would compare them to drawings of like basketball players with their shirt with their sleeveless arms, and learn how to draw it that way. And I just did it a bunch of times.
I feel so dumb that I never did that with animals. Like, why did that never occur to me? It's such a simple concept.
I, I just know I'm not smart enough to know all the animals, and I feel like I learn a different animal like every time we do an animal drawing stream, because like especially from you and Lauren, you two teach me a new animal. Like what was that one, like a capybara that I never
Capybara.
yeah, capybara. Yeah, see, I got it wrong again. I kept calling it a chupacabra. What the heck is this?
They're basically giant guinea pigs. They're
Yeah, see,
hilarious.
yeah, I never seen them before. Never seen them. By the way, I'm drawing a warthog now, and I gotta say, he looks nothing like Pumbaa.
Like who?
Pumbaa.
Who's that?
Never seen The Lion King?
Well, yeah, but it's been a while.
Oh my gosh, Timon and Pumbaa. You don't remember Pumbaa? He was the giant warthog who was singing
Okay,
Hakuna Matata.
I was so young when that movie came out. I do not
It's like
remember
the
any.
highest grossing 2D anime movie ever. Okay, hold on.
I
Hold on.
know, but
I oh jeez.
you're so
I have to look it
disappointed
up
in me,
now.
Jordan.
Sorry, guys. No, I have to pause my drawing for a second because of this.
This is just scandalous to you.
It's not right. It's not right. I'm sorry, I'm not drawing,
Well,
guys.
you should be very proud of me that I watched all of Avatar because of you.
Yeah, I'm very proud. I'm very proud.
See, I knew it.
And admittedly, everyone on the staff also likes Avatar, but I think I was just the one who pushed you further.
Exactly.
This guy, Clara, you remember him?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I remember now.
Thank you. That's Pumbaa. Yeah, doesn't he's cuter than the one I'm drawing now, I gotta say.
Oh my gosh, like these warthogs, they're weird looking. What's up with the hair on the back?
Yeah, it's like a strange mohawk thing. It's really funny.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And then all the random fur all over the place. It's such a weird animal.
I feel like this is like what a teenager would look like in a Warthog version, just like the wild mullet, weird haircut thing.
Yeah, he looks like he has a mullet. Like what? So Spring Roll Nicole says, where can you find anatomically accurate bone and muscle references? I'm going to assume you're talking about animals. Nicole, are there any particular sites, Jordan, that you have found helpful?
Google. I'm not even exaggerating. Like that's literally what I do. Because it's very easy to find medical drawings of these animals, and some of them are better quality. Some of them might have a better might fit your preference more of how it's drawn or something. But I just use Google and Pinterest or something, and that's been fine for me.
I don't think I made him plump enough. Oh, he's got a big belly.
Oh,
Amanda says, I'd love to see y'all draw pangolins. I don't even know what that is. Do you know what a pangolin is, out, Jordan?
No, I'm gonna look it up on my phone real quick though. Curious.
Thank you, Amanda, for the super chat. Keep those super chats coming, everybody, because I'll show you the chart later, but our Patreon majorly went down, and our budget is small enough that if we go down even $200 a month, that's a hit for us. That's how much we need those donations. So keep them coming. It does not have to be a large amount to be helpful.
This is a pangolin.
What is that?
It's a creature I didn't know existed.
No, I didn't either.
It's so bizarre. Do they have these at your local zoo?
I don't think so. I didn't see anything like that when I was there.
I don't even know. This is so bizarre. It's like an armadillo lizard strange combo mix thing.
I just feel like real life animals are so weird looking. They're bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, how is this thing even real?
I do not know. I do not know. Did you know that I forgot what I think I was reading The Guardian one time. Did you know that they found fossils of 5-foot penguins in Antarctica?
No, that sounds crazy.
Yeah. Can you imagine a giant penguin? Just you're just walking around.
That sounds amazing.
It's taller than your kids, like.
Oh my god, I love that. Thank you, RB Dick. We so appreciate your support. Oh, Leslie. Okay, good. We found a reason to talk about Benedict Cumberbatch. Is Benedict Cumberbatch's way of saying penguin. So this is whole clip on him on the Graham Norton show. So apparently he narrated some penguin documentary, and he cannot say penguins. He says like penguins. It doesn't even sound like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he botched it like so bad. And it's like, really, producers, you didn't bother to correct him.
That was funny. Was it his accent, or he just couldn't actually say the
No,
word?
he just couldn't say it, and he says it awkwardly at least twice during this documentary. So it wasn't just a one-time thing.
That is funny.
Yeah, that was very impressive.
Since we went on the Marvel thing, you know what one of my favorite things is? I saw a clip of Tom Holland, who obviously plays Spider-Man, and he was talking about the hardest word for him to say in an American accent, and he said Spider-Man is the hardest word for him to say.
What? It's very inconvenient.
Yeah, he's like he wants to say Spider-Man, or however you say
Ah!
it, but he just struggles with it.
I have to say, he does such a good American accent. I had no idea he was British.
Yeah, him, Andrew Garfield, Millie Bobby Brown, and Daniel Ezra. They're all British actors who do American accents way better than a lot of Americans do.
Oh, I know. I don't know how they do such a good job. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. I will say there was one time on Stranger Things with Millie Bobby Brown, her British kind of came out of her a little bit, or accent,
Mm.
where she said aghast instead of aghast. But I'm like, she's like 11 years old or 12 years old, so I'm like, I'm convinced otherwise. But that was one slip up I noticed.
I mean, I think all the kid actors on that show, Stranger Things, they're really good kid actors. A lot of kid actors are not good, and they are so believable. Like, they just did such a great job.
Yeah. Well, they're not kids anymore. The youngest of them is 18 now. So
Oh, I know. They're so old now. It
yeah.
must be so weird to grow up on camera, you know?
It's funny you say that. I read. Do you know who Cole Sprouse is?
No.
He was an actor on Disney. He had a show with his brother called Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. He has a twin brother, and then he's also on a show
Mm.
called Riverdale. But now he's like almost 30 years old. But he said that childhood fame is like a trauma.
Oh, I bet. How
Yeah,
could it not be?
yeah. Like that was really sad. And then I think Allison Stoner, who's also a child actress on Disney, she said something like, "We pretend like we're normal kids, like when we're filming scenes like prom and stuff, but we don't know. Like these aren't our
Yeah.
experiences." And I was like, "Wow, that is something. That is really wild."
Well, I've read stuff about child actors who had to do an on-screen kiss and hadn't had their own real first kiss in their lives. Like, I think that's so awkward.
Yeah, yeah, it's awkward. Definitely, I can imagine.
Katie Wu says, I'm not an artist, but I love the live shows. Well, Katie, that's one of the biggest compliments, I think, when people who are not practicing artists still enjoy what we have to say. I love that.
Thank you for watching.
So, Weeping Dog says, any helpful tips that help with improving on shadows and shading? I'm doing decently on details now. I think you got to get the big, simple stuff in, like this. You'll notice I did these big shapes in advance. And then what you can do, like this gray to this white of the page, that's too harsh. And so once you have the darkest dark and then the white, then you can figure out the transition. I think a lot of people, they think, oh, I need to gradually get in there. I'm like, no, just stick down one tone, have it next to the other, and then bridge them together. That's what I try to do.
Yeah, I think really a lot of it also just comes down to knowing form and just understanding, where if light's coming this way, shadow's going to be on this side, or if light's coming from the top, it's going to be on the bottom, and being able to figure that out and how to treat it, even if there's multiple light sources. Thankfully, with these references, it's the sun that's lighting it, so it's just one.
Yeah.
It's very simple, but yeah, that's really kind of the key. I think it's just learning where that is and following the science.
Well, lighting is hard. Like, not a lot of people, I think, have had the training to be able to identify, okay, what's a cast shadow, what's natural lighting, what is artificial light, what are the differences. It's actually fairly complicated, even though it seems like it should be simple. It really is not.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's whole books in my shelf just on the topic of lighting, and like it's a lot. It's a lot to juggle, especially if you're not used to it. Um, but the good thing is, like, we've seen it all throughout our lives, and I think we can recognize it. I think we just don't know how to articulate it because we've never really thought about it. So when you learn that information, it becomes more like, oh, that's why this is like this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think the thing is, you can know what it looks like, but having to really sit down and break down, okay, why is it like that? and what should I be looking for? I mean, it's like human anatomy. It's like, how do you know which bone is going to help you more than another one?
Right. I was there's a Kevin Hart joke where he talks about like how he gets irritated when his kids ask him questions sometimes because he can't answer them. And he was like talking to his daughter and she was like, "Daddy, why is the sky blue?" And he would answer it. And then it's like, "Daddy, why is this the?" And he said, "Hold on a second, let me just program this number in my phone." And she's like, "What's program?" And he's like, "Well, a program." And he just couldn't figure it out. He's like, "You know what? You need to program your butt behind, butt down before I give you something." I was like, "What in the world?"
Well, I think the worst thing, though, the questions that kids ask, because they ask you anything, is my kid came home once, "Mommy, what's prejudice?" I'm like, oh man, really?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a tough one.
I don't even know where to begin with that one.
I wouldn't.
Actually, my favorite thing that one of my kids ever said to me, I just thought this was so poetic. She said, "Does the rain make the moon wet?" I just like, so cute.
That is a great question, though.
It is a great question. I love that. She was thinking about things that way. I just think that's brilliant.
I have a friend who promised that he would never not answer a question truthfully if his child asked him. Like if he or she
Mhm.
is mature enough to ask, then they're mature enough to know the answer. And so I think his 5-year-old son asked where babies come from, and
Ah!
told him straight up, and his wife was so mad at him for that. Because I guess trying to protect the innocence and all that was like, no,
Right.
he should know.
You know how I got around that once? Because my kid was like 2 and said, "How does your body decide to make a baby?" And I said, "Oh, your body doesn't decide. You decide." And she's
Oh,
like,
that's
okay.
hilarious.
She was fine.
Like if I think about it hard, if I meditate on it, baby's just gonna come out.
Yes. But she was satisfied. Like that was enough information in that moment for her.
That is awesome. I hope I remember that if the question ever comes up in that format.
So wondering Kathy says, interesting for me watching Prof Lieu's style, sketching, going straight to shadow and texture instead of starting with lines. Well, see, I'm the opposite of Jordan. I am not good at lines. And for me, I find it easier to start with this base of big shapes and shading. And it just gives me a certain amount of bulk to start with. Well, I mean, why do you like lines so much, Jordan?
I think, to be honest, a lot of it has to do with my influence of animation, and pretty much everything is done with line, and that to me just excites me. And I also, um, I noticed that for me personally, when I would focus too much on tone and value, that the drawing would sometimes not be as strong. And I've seen it in some of my classmates too. And when you told them to do any sort of line, it was just never working. So it is a very backwards thinking between you and I. It's polar opposites, but yeah, yeah. I just prefer the look overall, and it's
Well, but
faster.
that makes sense because your artwork really is about concept art and animation. And I didn't, I mean, I've watched plenty of cartoons for sure, but I never studied that stuff from an artist point of view. So I guess that makes sense.
And also, like as a concept artist, it's just faster to do it with line usually.
Yeah.
Especially if you're using a pencil. If you're using like an ink brush or something like that, then things change. But if it's just pencil, yeah, you want to be fast. And line is the easiest way to get those results.
Well, I mean, for me, I grew up looking at paintings and drawings, and those are all shading techniques.
Mm. Yeah, I would get tuning books. That was my gift. That was my thing.
Oh, I like this comment from Christy, who says expression for animals is in its body language rather than facial expression. Yeah, that's so true. More often than not. I mean, if you're drawing a orangutan, they've got great facial expressions, but yeah,
Well,
the warthog doesn't have a lot of flexibility, does he?
yeah, that's actually something that I think probably was recognized by like Disney artists early on because what they would do after a certain point, like when they started doing Bambi and Lion King and I think even Jungle Book, they would bring in those animals and all the artists would have to do gesture drawing with them there. They would have bring in trainers and stuff and they'd be like, okay, lion, you sit for 5 minutes doing this, and everyone would just sit there and just draw it. And that's how they got really good at doing stuff for the films.
Why did they not do that at art school? They totally could have brought in animals.
Probably a liability issue. Maybe.
Oh, I
I
feel
don't
like they
know.
could have gotten around that.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like there would be some kid who's just like, I'm allergic to lions, like
Yeah, that's true.
like I just imagine that happening. Um, I would have loved it. I would have been like, this is so cool. But like I remember we went to
Why
see
did we
it.
never have field trips to the zoo, you know?
That I don't know. I do not know. I have to go to that, I
Well,
guess.
here's a good comment from Janet asks, I think oftentimes when I try to draw realistically according to photos, I lose the personality and emotion. Sometimes my drawings kind of just look dead. Well, why do you think sometimes that is not very expressive to say, oh, I'm going to draw this warthog as realistically as possible?
Mhm. Yeah, like so first off, I always will advocate drawing from life. Um, I think with photo, there's the obvious convenience factor. I don't even know where I would go to find a rhino to like rent him
Yeah.
for a day and draw him, like other than the zoo. But if he does, like you said, boring poses, then there's not a whole lot I can do. So I think there just needs to be balance um and figure out how to switch off from life and photo. Um, and I also think that's where you start to get more creative in figuring out things like line of action and gesture and how to be more loose and expressive. Because there's a way to do it. I think it's just about cracking the code a lot of the time.
Well, I have found in general, if I'm drawing the figure or whatever, if I try to portray it to be correct or accurate, it's never enough. It always, for me at least, it always feels a little bit lukewarm. And so usually what I do when I'm drawing the figure or an animal, I overdo the gesture. So if the gesture is a twist, I'll twist it more than I think is accurate. And then usually that's just about right.
Yeah, yeah. There's some poses, like if I just draw this on the side, there's usually a pose that, the person in real life is, maybe doing something like this or just stretching out, really was really far and everything is, exaggerated. And then the drawing will end up looking something like this. Like there's just a minimalization of the whole pose for
Yeah.
some reason. And, you know, moving past that, I think can be a challenge for a lot of beginner artists. It's necessary. You got to do it.
Well, and I also think the drawings I like, they're not drawings that are accurate.
Hmm.
Look at a Durer image. I mean, he messed with stuff. People say, "Oh, it's so realistic." I'm like, "No, it's not. He drew all these wonky rabbits and stuff." And I think that's why we like them because they are wonky.
It's about the interpretation.
That's what I mean. I mean, that's why I didn't see it, but I suspect that's why new the most recent Lion King animation was not interesting. It just looked too real.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, and was told by several people like, "Oh, it was so good," but I'm like, "Yeah, but
Yeah,
I doubt they're gonna give me that scene of be prepared with the green smoke popping up, and doing all that stuff." Like, I just don't care to see it. And it's funny because people call
no.
it like the live action Lion King, but it's really all just CGI. Like none of that is real either. um, but yeah, it does have a dead kind of feel to it. Actually, all the Disney remakes are kind of like that, though.
I know.
Like even is it okay to bring up Will Smith in the in the stream?
Oh God! Well, it's the end of the stream, so we can't have a 3-hour panel
I was just gonna
about.
say I saw the live action Aladdin, and then I compared it to the original anime Genie.
Yeah.
The animated Genie wins. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I hope you will join us in the Art Prof Discord right after the stream. We will be in post live streams to chat about anything else you want to talk about. And I have to really say thank you to these top Patreon supporters because so many of you have really stuck with us long term. And that is hugely important because, Jordan, we went down so much this week. We lost $174. I am okay. So like when we go down $50, it's not great. I'm not happy, but 174. This is the biggest dip we have had in a really long time. And in the fall raffle, we were at 4,000. We've dropped $350 since then. And like I said, for us, losing $350 a month, that's a hit for us. That's not good. So that's why for those of you on Patreon who have stuck with us for a long period, oh my gosh, you have been so important to us and we are so grateful for that. And I just I'm just extra sad. Like $174 going down is a lot. And I'm just really frustrated because I'm like, I know we have a really strong community and I'm excited for that. But it's like the financial part just isn't working very well right now. So if anybody can help us, that would be helpful. Yeah, see control, people just cancel. Like I'll have people who will pledge for a month or two and then they'll cancel, or people who will pledge at a high tier and then they'll cancel, and it's just, oh my god, it's so hard. It sort of messes with my head. So if anybody here can pledge on Patreon, make a one-time donation, anything you can do, because I'm a little stressed about that. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Bye.